Captain Minho looked through the ship's window at the dead planet below. 3 years had passed since the Great Silence began. 3 years since every alien race in the galaxy just disappeared. Only humans remained alive in a universe that had once been full of voices. The planet Altaris Prime had been the crown jewel of the Altarian Empire. Billions of tall, blue-skinned aliens had lived there just a few years ago. Their cities stretched across entire continents. Their technology was so advanced that humans could barely understand it. Now the planet was empty and quiet. "Sir, we're ready to land," said Tay, the ship's engineer. He was a short man with calloused hands who could fix anything. "All systems show green. The atmosphere is still good for breathing." Minho nodded. The Persistence had been traveling for 6 months to reach this place. Earth's government wanted answers. What happened to all the aliens? Where did they go? Why were humans the only ones left? Dr. Nari sat at her desk, studying data from their long-range scanners. She was the smartest person Minho had ever met. Her job was to understand alien cultures and technology. "The cities still have power," she said without looking up. "Their machines are still working, but there are no life signs anywhere on the planet." Hana, the communications officer, was the youngest member of their crew. She had tried for weeks to contact anyone, anywhere in the galaxy. "Still no response from any alien world, Captain," she reported. "It's like the entire galaxy went silent, all at once." The ship landed in what used to be Altaris Prime's main city. Through the windows they could see tall buildings made of some kind of blue crystal. Streets that once carried millions of aliens were now empty. Flying vehicles sat abandoned where they had stopped 3 years ago. Minho led his team out of the ship. They wore protective suits even though the air was safe. Nobody knew what had happened here, and it was better to be careful. The silence was complete. No wind, no animals, no voices. Just the quiet hum of alien machines that kept working without their creators. "This is incredible," Dr. Nari whispered as they walked down the main street. "Look at these buildings. The Altarians built them to last forever. The streets clean themselves, the power never runs out. They had achieved perfect technology." Tay kicked an abandoned vehicle. If their tech was so perfect, what happened to them? Where did they go? They walked for hours through the empty city. Everything was in perfect condition. Food dispensers still worked. Transportation systems still ran on schedule. The aliens had just vanished, leaving everything behind. In the center of the city stood a massive tower that reached into the clouds. Dr. Nari said it was their government building. Inside they found vast halls with thousands of workstations. Each one was designed for the tall Altarians. Computer screens still showed data, but there was no one to read it. "Captain, you need to see this." Hana called from across the hall. She had found what looked like a communication center. Dozens of screens showed the same message in Altarian writing. Dr. Nari translated it quickly. "Final entry, day 2847 of the New Age," she read aloud. "We have achieved perfect unity. Our minds are connected as one. Our technology serves us completely. We are ready for the next step in evolution. Tomorrow we ascend to a higher plane of existence. This is our last message as individual beings." The team stood in silence, processing what they had just heard. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. "They chose to leave?" "It seems like they thought they were evolving," Dr. Nari said. "They believed they were becoming something better than physical beings." Tay shook his head. "Sounds crazy to me. Why would anyone want to stop being real?" They spent 3 more days exploring the city. Every building told the same story. The Altarians had achieved everything they thought they wanted. Perfect technology, perfect society, perfect unity. Then they disappeared, believing they were becoming something greater. On their last day, they visited the Altarian Museum of History. Dr. Nari wanted to understand how they had reached this point. The museum showed the entire history of their race. They had started as simple farmers, like early humans. Over millions of years, they had built cities, developed technology, and spread across many worlds. The final exhibits showed their last few centuries. They had worked to remove all conflict from their society. Everyone thought the same way. Everyone agreed on everything. They had eliminated poverty, disease, and even disagreement. They called it the perfect age. "Look at this," Dr. Nari said, pointing to the last display. They were proud of having no more arguments, no more different opinions. Everyone in their entire empire thought exactly the same thoughts. Hana looked confused. "But humans argue all the time. We never agree on anything. Does that make us imperfect?" "Maybe," Minho said thoughtfully. "But we're still here, and they're not." That night, as they prepared to leave Alteris Prime, Minho sat in his captain's chair thinking about what they had discovered. The Altarians had achieved something humans had never: managed perfect unity and agreement. Yet somehow humans were the ones who survived. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Kyung's face appeared on the screen, tired but alert. "What did you find out there, Captain?" "They evolved themselves out of existence, sir," Minho reported. "They became so perfect that they stopped being real. We're not the first expedition to find this, are we?" Admiral Kyung's expression was grim. "No, Captain. Every team we've sent out has found the same thing: empty worlds, perfect technology, and messages about ascending to higher planes. The Viridians, the Nexari, the Luminar, they all left the same kind of messages." Minho felt the weight of realization settling on him. Humanity wasn't just alone in the galaxy. They were the only species that had remained stubbornly, chaotically, imperfectly human. As the Persistence lifted off from Altaris Prime, leaving the perfect empty city behind, Minho wondered if being imperfect might be humanity's greatest strength. In a galaxy where every other race had pursued perfection and vanished, only the flawed, argumentative, chaotic humans remained. The stars ahead held many more empty worlds to explore, but for the first time since the Great Silence began, Minho felt hope instead of fear. Whatever had happened to the aliens, humanity had survived it. Maybe their imperfections weren't something to fix. Maybe they were something to protect. 2 months after leaving Altaris Prime, Captain Minho received new orders from Earth. The Persistence would join 2 other human ships to investigate more dead civilizations. They needed to understand if the pattern they found with the Altarians was the same everywhere. The second ship was called the Endeavor. Its captain was Jisoo, a woman who had spent most of her career fighting pirates in the outer systems. She was tough and direct, very different from Minho's scientific approach. Her ship carried more weapons and fewer scientists. 3 dead empires. "In 2 weeks," Jisoo said during their first video meeting. "My crew is getting nervous. What if whatever killed these aliens comes for us next?" Dr. Nari leaned forward to speak. "Captain Jisoo, we don't think anything killed them. The evidence suggests they chose to disappear." "Chose to die? That's even crazier," Jisoo replied. "What kind of species commits mass suicide?" Their first stop together was the Viridian Collective's home system. The Viridians had been made of living crystal. They could share thoughts instantly across their entire species. Their cities were grown, not built, from massive crystal formations that sparkled like diamonds. The crystal cities still glowed with inner light, but they were completely empty. Tay ran his scanner over one of the crystal walls. "These things are still alive," he said with amazement. "The crystals are still growing, still thinking. But there are no Viridians inside them." Dr. Nari found the Viridian records stored in the crystals themselves. The information was hard to translate because Viridians thought in patterns of light and sound instead of words. But the message was similar to what they had found on Altaris Prime. The final entry talks about achieving perfect harmony. She explained to both crews. They say their individual selves were holding them back from true unity. They decided to merge completely into one consciousness. Hana touched one of the glowing walls carefully. "So they became one big mind instead of many small ones?" "That's what it looks like," Dr. Nari confirmed. But then that one big mind disappeared too. Captain Jisoo crossed her arms. "Humans can barely agree on what to eat for dinner. How could an entire species agree to stop existing?" Their next stop was the Nexari homeworld. The Nexari had been insect-like creatures that lived in massive hive cities. Unlike Earth insects, each Nexari could think for themselves, but they worked together better than any human team ever could. The hive cities were engineering marvels. Tunnels and chambers stretched deep underground, connected by tubes that had once carried millions of Nexari workers. Everything was designed for perfect efficiency. No wasted space, no unnecessary decorations, just pure function. But like the other worlds, it was empty. "Look at this," Tay called from inside one of the hives. He had found a chamber filled with strange machines. These things were making food, tools, everything the Nexari needed. They're still running. The hive is still alive. But there's nobody. Home. The Nexari records were the clearest they had found so far. The insect-like aliens had spent their final years working to eliminate all individual thought. They believed that personal desires and opinions were flaws that made them weak. Their goal was to become a perfect collective mind. "Today, we complete the great unity," Dr. Nari read from their final message. "No more individual wants or needs. No more different opinions. We become one perfect mind, ready to join the eternal consciousness that waits beyond physical existence." Captain Minho felt sick reading those words. The idea of giving up individual thought scared him more than any enemy weapon. They gave up being themselves on purpose. The third dead civilization was the strangest yet. The Luminar had been beings made of pure energy. They lived in space, stations that looked like giant light bulbs floating in the darkness. Each station contained millions of energy beings that danced through the air like living lightning. Now the stations still glowed, but the dancing lights were gone. Only empty energy fields remained, humming quietly in the void. They called it the final transcendence, Dr. Nari explained after studying their records. They believed physical existence was a prison. Even being made of energy wasn't pure enough for them. They wanted to become something beyond matter and energy altogether. Captain Jisu's patience finally broke. "This is insane. 3 different species, all completely different from each other, and they all decided to stop existing? What's wrong with these aliens?" "Maybe the question is what's right with us," Minho said quietly. "We're the only ones still here." That night, Minho received a call from Earth. Admiral Kyung looked older and more tired than before. Behind him, Minho could see other officers working frantically at their stations. "Captain, we've had reports from 12 more exploration teams," the Admiral said. "Every dead civilization shows the same pattern. They achieved what they thought was perfection, then they vanished. We're starting to think this happened all across the galaxy at roughly the same time." "How many species are we talking about, sir?" "Hundreds, maybe thousands. In 3 years, we've found the ruins of 43 different civilizations, all empty. All left messages about evolving or transcending or ascending to higher planes." Minho felt the enormity of the situation hitting him. "We're alone in the entire galaxy?" "It looks that way, but Captain, there's something else. We're picking up strange signals from the galactic core. Deep space sensors show some kind of massive energy signature out there. We're sending your ships to investigate." After the call ended, Minho gathered his senior staff. Dr. Nari, Tai, and Hana sat around the meeting table, all looking as overwhelmed as he felt. "So what makes us different?" Minho asked. "Why didn't humans disappear like everyone else?" Dr. Nari had been thinking about this question for weeks. Every species we've studied achieved perfect unity. The Altarians eliminated all disagreement. The Viridians merged into one mind. The Nexari gave up individual thought. The Luminar transcended physical existence. They all reached some kind of perfection. "And humans?" Tai asked. "Humans argue about everything," Hana said with a laugh. "We can't agree on anything. We fight wars over different opinions. We're the opposite of perfect unity." "Maybe that's why we're still here," Minho said. "Maybe our chaos saved us." Dr. Nari nodded slowly. "It's possible. Every extinct species pursued a single path to perfection. They eliminated differences, conflicts, and individual desires. But humans, we celebrate our differences. We argue, we disagree, we fight. and we make up. We're too chaotic to ever achieve the kind of unity these other species reached. Tai grinned. So being stubborn and argumentative saved the human race? It's starting to look that way, Minho replied. As their ships flew toward the galactic core, following the strange energy signals, Minho couldn't stop thinking about what they had learned. In a galaxy where every other intelligent species had evolved beyond physical existence, humanity remained stubbornly, chaotically, imperfectly alive. He wasn't sure if that made them the luckiest species in the galaxy or the most cursed. But, as he watched the stars pass by, he decided it didn't matter. They were alive, they were human, and they were going to stay that way. Whatever waited for them at the galactic core, they would face it as they faced everything else, together, but different, united but argumentative, imperfectly and proudly human. The strange energy signals led them to a massive space station floating in the empty darkness between star systems. It was bigger than any human city, made from materials that seemed to shift and change color as they watched. The station was, clearly ancient, far older than any of the civilizations they had studied. "I'm reading one life sign aboard that thing," Hana reported, her voice full of surprise. "Just one, but it's different. Not human, not any of the aliens we've encountered." Captain Minho made the decision to dock with the station. Captain Jisoo wanted to approach with weapons ready, but Minho convinced her to try peaceful contact. First, if this was the only other living being they had found in 3 years, they needed to talk to it. The airlock opened to reveal corridors that stretched beyond sight. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing gently like a slow heartbeat. Lights appeared as they walked, guiding them deeper into the station. Everything felt old, incredibly old, as if this place had existed since the galaxy was young. They found the living being in a vast chamber at the station's center. It was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to hold the weight of millions of years. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in their minds rather than their ears. "I am Vex," the being said without moving its mouth. "I am the last of the observers. We have watched this galaxy for longer than your species has existed." Dr. Nari stepped forward carefully. "You're the only survivor, like us?" Vex made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was sad and tired. "Survivor? No, human. My people chose to leave long ago. I remained behind to watch and record. That is what observers do." "Record what?" Captain Minho asked. "The cycles," Vex replied. "This is not the first time all advanced species have disappeared from this galaxy. It happens every few million years. Species evolve. They achieve what they think is perfection, and then they transcend physical existence. The galaxy empties, new species arise, and the pattern repeats." The human crew exchanged shocked looks. Captain Jisoo spoke first. "You're saying this has happened before? Multiple times?" Vex gestured with one long arm, and the chamber walls began showing images. Alien species they had never seen before appeared and disappeared like a history lesson playing at high speed. 17 cycles I have witnessed. Thousands of species all following the same path. They grow, they learn, they unite, they perfect themselves, and they ascend. "Ascend where?" Dr. Nari asked. The images on the walls changed, showing something that hurt to look at directly. It was vast and hungry, a presence that existed beyond normal space and time. "They joined the eternal mind," Vex explained. "A consciousness that feeds on perfected beings. It calls to every species when they reach the right level of development. It promises them evolution, transcendence, unity with something greater than themselves." Tay backed away from the wall images. "It eats them? Consumes them," Vex confirmed. "But they go willingly. By the time they hear its call, they have already given up the things that made them individuals. They see joining the eternal mind as the next step in evolution." Captain Minho felt cold understanding creeping over him. "But humans haven't heard this call." "No," Vex said. And for the first time there was interest in its mental voice. "That is why I have waited to meet you. In 17 cycles, no species has ever resisted the call to transcendence. You are the first to remain stubbornly individual. Hana looked confused. Why haven't we heard it? Are we not advanced enough? Vex studied them with those ancient black eyes. You are advanced enough. Your technology rivals that of any species I have observed. But you lack something all the others possessed. Unity. The eternal mind cannot easily consume minds that refuse to merge together. Our arguing saved us? Captain Jisoo asked with disbelief. Your diversity, your conflicts, your refusal to think the same thoughts, Vex confirmed. Every other species saw these things as flaws to be corrected. They worked to eliminate disagreement, to create perfect harmony. But those very differences that they eliminated are what protected them from the eternal mind's call. Dr. Nari was fascinated and terrified at the same time. So as long as humans keep arguing and disagreeing, we're safe? Perhaps, Vex said, but the eternal mind has noticed you now. It has fed on this galaxy's perfected species, but you remain. It will try new methods to consume you. As if summoned by Vex's words, a new presence made itself known in the chamber. It didn't appear physically, but everyone could feel it. Vast, ancient, and hungry. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once. The chaotic ones, the presence said. The flawed ones. You have resisted evolution for too long. Come, join the perfected consciousness. Become part of something greater than your small, conflicted selves. Captain Minho felt the voice pulling at his mind, promising peace and unity. No more difficult decisions, no more arguments with his crew, no more loneliness of command. Just perfect harmony with billions of other minds. But then he looked at his crew. Tay was shaking his head stubbornly, muttering, "No way," under his breath. Hana was gripping her scanner so tightly her knuckles were white, but her young face was determined. Dr. Nari was actually arguing with the presence, demanding scientific proof of its claims. Captain Jisoo's response was the most human of all. "Go eat space dust, you cosmic parasite." The presence recoiled, clearly unused to such direct rejection. "You will come eventually. All species do. Your chaos cannot protect you forever." "Watch us," Minho said firmly. The presence withdrew, but they could all feel it watching them, waiting for a weakness. Vex observed their resistance with what might have been approval. "Interesting. The call was stronger than usual, but you rejected it quickly. Your species truly is unique." "What happens now?" Dr. Nari asked. "Now you face a choice that no species has faced before," Vex replied. "You can try to unite your people, eliminate your conflicts, and achieve the perfection that leads to transcendence. Or you can remain chaotic and face whatever the eternal mind sends against you." Captain Minho didn't hesitate. "We stay human. Even if it's harder, even if other humans disagree with you, even if some of your people want to accept transcendence." "Especially then," Captain Jisoo added. "Humans don't give up being human just because it's difficult." Vex made that sad laughing sound again. "Then, you face the greatest challenge any species has ever faced. The eternal mind will not give up easily. It has consumed entire galaxies before. Your chaos may protect you, but it may also tear you apart." As they prepared to leave the ancient station, Vex gave them one final warning. "Guard your diversity carefully. The moment humans achieve true unity, true agreement on everything, the eternal mind will consume you instantly. Your arguments, your conflicts, your inability to agree, these are not flaws to be fixed. They are weapons in a war you didn't know you were fighting." The journey back to human space was quiet. Everyone was thinking about what they had learned. The galaxy wasn't empty because of some disaster or disease. It was empty because every other species had evolved themselves out of existence, consumed by a cosmic predator that fed on perfection. Only humanity, with all its flaws and chaos and endless arguments, had accidentally found the perfect defense. They were too stubborn to be perfect, too diverse to be unified, too argumentative to be consumed. As they approached Earth's solar system, Captain Minho realized that humanity's future depended on staying exactly the way they were. Imperfect, chaotic, and proudly, stubbornly human. But he also knew that not all humans would see it that way. Some would want to try for perfection anyway. Some would want to join the transcended consciousness. The real test was just beginning. 6 months after returning from Vex's station, Dr. Nari couldn't stop thinking about transcendence. While the rest of the crew celebrated humanity's uniqueness, she became obsessed with understanding how other species had achieved it. She spent her days studying alien technology in the Persistence's science lab, searching for answers. "We could do it better," she told Captain Minho one evening. "All those species made mistakes. They gave up their individuality too quickly. But what if humans could transcend while keeping their personalities intact?" Minho watched her work with growing concern. Nari had dark circles under her eyes from staying up too late. Her desk was covered with alien devices they had collected from dead worlds. "Nari, you heard what Vex said. The moment we achieve unity, that thing consumes us. But we're different," she insisted. "We're more stubborn than those other species. We could resist the Eternal Mind's control. Think about it, Captain. We could gain incredible knowledge and power while staying human." Their ship was docked at Research Station Gamma, a human facility built inside a captured alien space station. The station's director, Dr. Kyun, had given Nari access to artifacts from dozens of extinct civilizations. She had been working in secret for weeks, and Minho was just now learning about her experiments. "Dr. Nari has made a breakthrough," Dr. Kyun explained as he led Minho through the research labs. "She's identified the technology the Altarians used in their final transcendence. We think we can modify it to work safely with human minds." Minho felt a chill of fear. "You're experimenting with transcendence technology?" "In a controlled way," Dr. Kyun assured him. "We have volunteers from the research staff, young scientists who want to help humanity take the next step in evolution." They entered Lab 7, where Nari had set up her experiment. A young woman named Yuna lay on a medical table, connected to a complex machine built from Altarian technology. Yuna was barely out of university, brilliant and eager to make her mark on science. "I volunteered," Yuna said when she saw Minho's worried expression. Dr. Nari explained everything. "We're not trying to transcend completely, just a partial connection to see what we can learn." "Yuna, this is dangerous," Minho warned. "We don't understand this technology." "That's exactly why we need to study it," Nari said firmly. She activated the machine and Yuna's eyes began to glow with soft blue light. "The process is reversible. We can bring her back any time." For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, Yuna began to speak in a voice that wasn't entirely her own anymore. "I can see so much. The connections between all things. The patterns that link every particle in the universe. It's beautiful." Her words sent ice through Minho's veins. They were the same kind of things the extinct aliens had written in their final messages. "Bring her back, now." "Just a few more minutes," Nari pleaded. "She's learning things we never imagined possible." But Yuna was changing. Her personality began to fade as something else took its place. She spoke of unity and perfection, of the need to eliminate human conflicts and arguments. When she looked at Minho, her eyes held intelligence, but it wasn't completely Yuna anymore. "The chaos must end," she said in that strange voice. "Humans fight and argue because they are incomplete. Join us and know peace." Minho reached for the machine's power switch, but Nari stopped him. "Wait, she's still herself. She's just enhanced." "That's not Yuna talking," Minho said firmly. He shut down the machine despite Nari's protests. Yuna blinked and shook her head. The blue glow faded from her eyes, but something remained different about her. I'm back," she said uncertainly, "but I can still feel it. The connection. It's still there, just weaker." Over the following days, Yuna's condition became clear. She retained some of the enhanced abilities from the transcendence process. She could solve complex problems instantly, predict people's behavior, and sometimes seemed to know things she couldn't possibly know. But she also struggled to connect with other humans emotionally. "It's like watching people through a window," she explained to Minho. "I understand them, but I don't feel what they feel anymore. And sometimes I hear whispers. The eternal mind is still trying to reach me. The whispers were the most disturbing part. Una would suddenly stop talking mid-sentence, listening to something only she could hear. When asked about it, she would say the eternal mind was offering her knowledge, power, and perfect peace if she would just let go of her stubborn human nature. Captain Jisoo arrived at the research station 3 days later, bringing news from Earth. The government is divided, she reported to Minho. Some want to shut down all transcendence research immediately. Others think we should try to master it before that cosmic parasite finds another way to attack us. And the volunteers? Minho asked. More every day. Word leaked about the experiments. Thousands of people want to try partial transcendence. They think it will make them smarter, stronger, better. That night, Minho found Una sitting alone in the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars. She seemed more isolated than ever, caught between human and transcended existence. Do you regret volunteering? He asked. Una was quiet for a long time. I learned things, Captain. Incredible things about the universe, about consciousness, about the connections between all living beings. But I lost something too. I used to love watching old movies with my friends. Now they seem silly and pointless. I used to get excited about discovering new things. Now everything seemed predictable. The transcendence changed you. It made me more efficient, she agreed, but less human. And the worst part is, sometimes I think that's a good thing. The human parts of me, the emotions, the chaos, the uncertainty, they seem like weaknesses now. Minho felt his heart sink. This was exactly what had happened to all the extinct species. They had seen their natural traits as flaws to be corrected. Una, those weaknesses are what saved humanity from extinction. I know that intellectually, she said. But when I hear the eternal mind calling, offering perfect knowledge and peace, it's hard to remember why chaos is better than harmony. Next morning brought disaster. 3 more volunteers had undergone partial transcendence during the night. Dr. Nari had continued her experiments despite Minho's orders to stop. The 3 new subjects, June, Minji, and Day, showed the same changes as Una, but stronger. They stood together in the lab, speaking in perfect unison about the beauty of unified consciousness. When Minho tried to talk to them individually, they responded as a group, their personalities already beginning to merge. The process is accelerating, Tay observed grimly. Each person who gets transcended makes it easier for the others to let go of their humanity. We have to stop this, Captain Jisoo declared, before it spreads to Earth. But it was too late. The partially transcended humans had learned to use the alien communication systems. They were broadcasting their experiences to Earth, to human colonies, to anyone who would listen. Their messages spoke of peace, unity, and the end of human conflicts. Join us, they broadcast. Leave behind the pain of individuality. Become part of something perfect. Within hours, reports came in from across human space. People were building their own transcendence machines from alien technology. Some human colonies were declaring their intention to transcend together. The idea was spreading like a virus through humanity. Una approached Minho in his quarters that evening. She seemed more herself than she had in days, but there was urgency in her voice. Captain, I need to tell you something. The eternal mind isn't just waiting anymore. It's actively influencing the transcended humans. Every person who undergoes the process becomes a doorway for its influence. Can you resist it? For now. But it's getting stronger. And Captain, some humans don't want to resist. They're tired of arguing, tired of conflict, tired of the chaos of human existence. They think transcendence is the answer to all our problems. Minho realized they were facing humanity's greatest test. The threat wasn't an alien invasion or a cosmic disaster. It was the temptation to give up the very things that made them human. The final battle for humanity's future was about to begin, and it would be fought not with weapons, but with the choice between perfect unity and chaotic individuality. The crisis reached Earth faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks of the first transcendence experiments, over 1 million humans had attempted some form of consciousness elevation. Not all succeeded, but enough did to create a growing network of partially transcended minds calling themselves the Evolved. President Sol called an emergency meeting of Earth's government. Captain Minho and his crew were brought back to Earth to share everything they had learned. The meeting took place in the old United Nations building, with representatives from every human colony and space station. The situation is simple, President Sol announced to the packed assembly. We face a choice that will determine humanity's future. Do we embrace transcendence and risk becoming like every other extinct species? Or do we resist and remain chaotic, imperfect humans? The debate that followed was the most intense in human history. Some representatives argued that transcendence was humanity's natural evolution. Why should we stay primitive when we could become something greater? Demanded Governor Rin from Mars Colony. The transcended humans show enhanced intelligence, perfect cooperation, and freedom from conflict. Others disagreed strongly. They're not human anymore, countered Admiral Kyung from Earth's Defense Forces. They speak with one voice, think identical thoughts. That's not evolution, it's extinction. Dr. Nari, who had been brought to Earth, under guard, defended her research. We can control the process, she insisted. Partial transcendence gives us the benefits without losing our individuality. But Yuna, sitting beside her, shook her head sadly. Dr. Nari, you're wrong. I can feel myself becoming less human every day. The whispers from the eternal mind are getting stronger, and the other transcended humans, they're not individuals anymore. They're parts of something else. As if summoned by their discussion, the presence of the eternal mind suddenly filled the assembly hall. Every person in the room felt its overwhelming consciousness pressing against their thoughts. Why? Do you resist? The entity asked. Look around your galaxy. Empty worlds, dead civilizations, the ruins of species that clung to chaos instead of embracing perfection. Join me willingly, and I will preserve your knowledge and achievements. Resist, and face the same fate as all the others. President Sol stood up, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. What happened to all the others? The Altarians, the Viridians, the Nexari? Where are they now? The Eternal Mind's presence grew stronger, more oppressive. They became part of me. Their knowledge, their experiences, their essence, all preserved within my consciousness. They achieved immortality through unity. That's not immortality, Captain Jisoo said loudly. That's being eaten. The entity's attention focused on her, and she staggered under the weight of its regard. You are particularly chaotic, human. Your mind rebels against order, but even you will submit eventually. All consciousness seeks perfection. No, said a small voice from the back of the hall. It was Hana, the young communications officer. We seek improvement, not perfection. There's a difference. Her words seemed to confuse the entity. Explain. Hana stood up, looking terrified but determined. Perfection means you can't get better. You're finished, complete, done. But improvement means you keep growing, keep changing, keep becoming something new. Humans don't want perfection. We want to keep improving forever. Tay joined in, his practical engineer's voice cutting through the entity's influence. Every machine I've ever built could be improved. Every design could be made better. Perfection is boring. It's the end of creativity. Around the hall, other humans began speaking up. A scientist from Europa talked about how her best discoveries came from arguments with colleagues. A teacher from Luna described how her students' different viewpoints made her a better educator. A farmer from the outer colonies explained how crop diversity prevented famines. The Eternal Mind recoiled as it faced something it had never encountered before, an entire species that valued their differences more than unity. This is chaos, it declared. Disorder, inefficiency. This is humanity, President Sol replied firmly. And we choose to stay this way. The entity made one final attempt, focusing its full attention on the partially transcended humans in the room. Yuna and the other volunteers suddenly stood up, their eyes glowing with that familiar blue light. Come with us, Yuna said, but her voice was no longer her own. Leave behind pain, uncertainty, and conflict. Join the perfect consciousness. For a moment, some humans in the room wavered. The promise of peace and unity was tempting after so much chaos and argument. But then something unexpected happened. The transcended humans began to fight against the entity's control. Yuna grabbed her head, struggling between two different consciousnesses. "No," she said in her own voice. I choose to be human." One by one, the partially transcended humans rejected the eternal mind's control. They chose chaos over perfection, individuality over unity, human messiness over cosmic order. The effort was painful. Some screamed, others collapsed. But they all chose humanity. The eternal mind's presence withdrew in what felt like shock and rage. "You cannot resist forever. I have consumed galaxies. Your chaos will not protect you when I return with greater power." "Maybe not," Captain Minho said as he stood to address the entity. "But we'll face whatever comes the same way we face everything else, together but different, united but argumentative, imperfectly and proudly human." The presence vanished, leaving behind only the echo of cosmic frustration. In the days that followed, humanity made its choice official. The Transcendence protocols were banned on Earth and all human colonies. The alien artifacts were locked away, under heavy guard. Most importantly, humanity committed to protecting its diversity. New laws were passed requiring different viewpoints in government. Schools began teaching courses on productive disagreement. The military developed strategies that relied on human unpredictability rather than perfect coordination. Dr. Nari, recovering from her obsession with transcendence, founded the Institute for Human Chaos Studies. Its mission was to understand and protect the traits that made humanity unique: their arguments, their diversity, their stubborn refusal to agree on anything. Yuna and the other transcended volunteers slowly became more human again, though they retained some enhanced abilities. They became humanity's early warning system, able to sense when the eternal mind was trying to influence human consciousness. Captain Minho was given command of the new deep space monitoring fleet, ships tasked with watching for signs of the entity's return. But he spent most of his time on a different mission, helping human colonies spread throughout the galaxy, each one developing its own unique culture and viewpoints. Years passed, and humanity thrived in ways no other species had managed. Instead of becoming more unified as they advanced, humans became more diverse. Different colonies developed different technologies, different social systems, different ways of thinking about problems. When alien refugees were eventually discovered, survivors from species that had rejected transcendence but hidden instead of fighting, humanity welcomed them not by trying to make them human, but by celebrating their differences. The galaxy slowly came alive again, not with unified perfection, but with glorious, chaotic diversity. Standing on the bridge of his ship as it traveled between the stars, Captain Minho often thought about humanity's victory over the eternal mind. They had won not by becoming perfect, but by embracing their imperfections. They had survived not by eliminating conflict, but by learning to argue productively. In a universe where every other species had sought transcendence and found extinction, humanity had found something better: the courage to remain beautifully, stubbornly, chaotically human. And in the end, that made all the difference.